So here we are, as we are, entering into a period of practice. And seeing if perhaps we have a preference on how this practice goes, or a belief in what a good practice is and what a bad practice is. And just notice if those things are showing up. We don't need to get rid of them. They don't need to go anywhere. Just this curiosity, if we have any expectations or preferences that are arising for this practice today. And maybe there's a certain preference kind of rising up above others, some kind of intention. You know, if at the end of this practice you were to say, "Oh, that's exactly what I needed," what would have happened? And if nothing's showing up, that's okay too. Just noticing what feels important, where attention might be drawn and called forward. And when you arrive, doing nothing more than sensing and feeling what's there. We might explore this idea of receiving this practice. Maybe we begin by receiving the support of the surface below, the earth rising up to hold you, and the body allowing itself to be held, the weight of the bones sinking down towards the earth below. Or perhaps we notice the touch of air on our skin, receiving the air. Sensations of feeling warm or cool, heavy or light, comfortable, uncomfortable. Nothing to fix, nothing to change. Just this curiosity, what's here now? And is there anything I can do to support myself in this moment? Is there an adjustment to the body I might invite in? Or an adjustment to the breath? Something I might do to make myself warmer or cooler? Remembering that these adjustments are always welcome at any point. If you want to lay on your side or lay on your belly or sit up. Continuing to support yourself with whatever you need moment to moment. And as we start to turn inward, we might start to notice the area around our heart. The region of the heart, not just in our physical body, but maybe the energy of our heart, resting in the center of the center of the center of the heart. And we might get curious if there's any kind of heartfelt longing that might be emerging, or that we might attune with. Something that we're longing for or desiring in our lives. Something that we deeply love or that feels most important. Something that calls us forward in our life. There might not be words. Maybe there are images, colors, emotions. And yet, this longing is undeniable. Rather than thinking about that which is somewhere off in the future that we're longing for, turning attention to what does longing feel like in my body. And this longing and this desire, and it's pulling me forward in life. That's drawing me towards what's important. Where and how does that express a sensation in the body? Remembering that numbness and dullness are also sensations. Allowing attention to wander wherever it feels is most important right now. We might take a moment in our practice to turn towards an inner resource of well-being. We may think of a memory or a time in our life where we felt safe and at ease, or we feel comfortable or content. And this might come in the form of a memory of something that has happened. Or perhaps we might let our imagination create a place that would feel safe and comfortable. Noticing if there are any colors or shapes there. Maybe it's somewhere out in nature. Maybe a shoreline in the ocean or in the mountains. Maybe it's in the center of a bustling city, alive and full of life. Maybe it's something else. A world that your imagination creates. Somewhere here or far off in the galaxy. Or maybe it's taking a moment right here, right now, to notice what it feels like to say, it's okay right now. What might that feel like? What does being feel like? Here, now. Just this. Remembering your inner resource is always here, always available to return to and nourish at any point in your practice. And maybe that's where you'd like to rest today. Resting back and nourishing this inner resource of well-being and ease. Or perhaps there's a curiosity about what else is here now. Maybe we turn our attention towards our physical body, noticing what's emerging. Is the body feeling restless or calm, dense and heavy, or open and spacious? Is it feeling warm or cool? Maybe attention is drawn towards a certain part of the body. It might be a part of the body that's calling attention forward. Maybe an aching in the shoulder, or maybe a throbbing in the knee. Often it's the more uncomfortable sensations that tend to be a bit louder than others. And so sometimes in our practice, it can be supportive to invite attention to other parts of the body that don't call as loudly. And so if it feels okay, we might invite attention down into the toes. Noticing sensation in the toes and the soles of the feet, the ankles. And rather than visualizing the feet or thinking about the feet, what would it be like to feel the raw data emerging from this region of the body, the raw sensation, before the mind tries to capture it? Remembering numbness, dullness, these are sensations, and that might be what's emerging in this region of the feet and the ankles. We might invite attention into the lower legs. Noticing, what does it feel like where the muscles of the calves rest against the bones of the lower legs? Sensing the knees, the firmness of the front of the knee and the softness of the back of the knee. Inviting attention into the upper legs, maybe feeling the weight of the bones, or the sensation where the muscles in the upper legs rest against the bones, or maybe something else. Noticing where attention wanders off to, and sensing and feeling what's there. Noticing, what does it feel like where the limbs of the legs meet the floor of the torso? The raw sensation, the raw data emerging before the mind reaches down to capture it with the words hips. Sensing the floor of the torso, in the lower region of the torso, the belly, the lower back. Perhaps there's some movement internally, the movement of digestion or elimination or reproduction. Inviting attention into the middle chamber of the torso. Maybe the movement of the diaphragm, or the movement of the rib cage. Noticing the space in between each of the ribs. What does that space feel like as you inhale? And what does it feel like as you exhale? Inviting attention into the upper chamber of the torso. Perhaps there's a subtle movement of the collarbone or the shoulder blades. What might it be like to sense them both at the same time? And sensing the ceiling of the torso. Noticing what it feels like where the limbs of the arms connect to the upper region of the torso. Before the mind reaches down to capture it with the words shoulders, what's the sensation emerging from this region? And sensing the upper arms, and the density of the elbows, the forearms, and the density of the wrists. the warmness of the palms, and the smoothness on the back of the hands, and sensing the tips of the fingers and feeling the space between the fingers. Sensing the left side of the right hand and the right side of the left hand. And feeling both hands at the same time. And does one hand feel warmer than the other? Does one arm feel heavier than the other? And both hands, arms, and shoulders at the same time. Supported by the surface below. And sensing the neck and the inside of the throat. Sensations unfolding in the back of the head. What does it feel like where the base of the skull connects with the top of the spine? Sensing the back of the head and the sides of the head. The outer architecture of the ears, and sensing the inner canals of the ears. Sensing the top of the head, the smoothness of the forehead as it rests against the bones of the skull. Sensation unfolding in between the eyes, eyebrows, temples, cheekbones. Sensation behind the eyes. Noticing what does it feel like where the eyes rest in the sockets of the skull. Sensing inside of the nostrils. Sensation in the mouth. Noticing what it feels like where the upper lip rests against the lower lip. Where the tongue rests against the teeth and the gums. And sensing the whole body from head to toe. The front side of the body as sensation. The back side. The left side of the body. And the right side. Sensations unfolding deep in the center. And surface sensations. And then the whole body all at once. A radiant field of sensation. Noticing the part of you that's feeling the sensation. Changing sensation, revealing unchanging awareness. Noticing where attention is being drawn forward. Letting attention go wherever it feels it's most important. sensing and feeling what's there. And if it feels okay, you might invite attention to turn towards the breath, noticing the movement of the breath in the body. And this movement of respiration happening every moment of our lives. We don't need to control it. We don't need to force it or fix it. It doesn't need to be more or less. It takes care of itself. What would it feel like to receive the breath? Or to follow the natural rhythm of the breath? Receiving the inhale as the air falls into your lungs. The exhale softly releasing back to the world around. And sometimes it might be supportive to invite the breath to move in a certain way. We don't need to force it. Just this curiosity. Maybe we start by following the inhale from the beginning all the way up to fulfillment. And following the exhale as it dissolves all the way down. Inhaling in your own way, your own time, following the inhale. Maybe noticing the gentle pause before the breath turns and cascades down, dissolving at the bottom, at the end of the exhale. Following each cycle of breath. Maybe noticing what this pause feels like at the top or the bottom. Does the body naturally pause longer at the end of the inhale or the end of the exhale? No need to change anything, just this curiosity as the body breathes itself. What might the pattern of movement be? Or if it feels supportive, you could invite in a color of light. As you inhale, this color of light comes into the body. And as you exhale, it spreads outward in every direction, above, below, beside. Like an ember in a fire when you blow on it. Inhaling whatever feels okay for you. And exhaling in every direction. And the body breathing itself. Notice if you want to follow the breath or invite the breath to move in a certain way. You might notice thoughts or emotions or sensations co-arising with the breath. All of you is welcome here, without exception. Just noticing what's coming into the foreground as the rest might be drifting into the background. And perhaps you rest here, following the breath or sensation, or maybe resting and nourishing your inner resource of well-being. Or perhaps there's a curiosity about what kind of emotions might be here, if any at all. You might notice if there's a particular emotion arising. Or maybe there's several emotions arising. Or maybe none. Maybe the mind wants to wander somewhere else. So letting attention go to wherever it feels most called. Sensing and feeling what's there. If it feels okay to explore an emotion, you might notice if there's one in particular that's coming into the foreground. And as it's here, noticing what sensations co-arise. Noticing where and how you feel this emotion in the body as sensation. There might be images and beliefs that also arise. All of you is welcome. And just noticing where this emotion emerges in the body, sensing and feeling. You can notice if you have a preference for it to be here or not be here, what that preference feels like. And if it feels okay, I'll now invite you to think of the opposite emotion. And noticing where and how you feel this opposite emotion in the body as sensation. Sensing and feeling what's emerging. When it feels okay, alternating back to the first emotion that showed up. Letting that unfold as sensation in the body. And in your own time, alternating to the second emotion. Back and forth. Letting sensation fully unfold with each emotion. And then noticing when you want to alternate to the other. Your own pace, your own way. And then noticing, what would it feel like if you were to feel both of these emotions at the same time? Noticing how this affects the body or the mind or anything else. And in your own time, letting this drift away into the background. You're welcome to invite your inner resource into the foreground. Or noticing what else feels important now, where attention is drawn. If it feels okay, we might invite another emotion into the foreground. Maybe the same emotion emerges, maybe it's something different, maybe no emotion at all. Just noticing what's here. And if there is an emotion that you'd like to work with, if this emotion were to walk into the room, what would it look like? Does it have a particular shape or form? Does it look like something familiar? a being, maybe it's amorphous. Is there a color or an age? How far away does this emotion need to be in order for it to be okay to be here? Maybe it can sit next to you. Maybe it needs to be across the room, across the country, across the galaxy. Just this curiosity, how much space does there need to be between you? And if it feels okay, you might ask this emotion, what do you want? What do you need? Is there an action that you're asking me to take in the world? And then noticing, is there anything that you would like to say to this emotion? When you're ready, letting this emotion walk out of the door and drift into the background. You're welcome to let it know that you'll come back for it again if there's anything else that you'd like to interact with. And as this drifts into the background, inviting your inner resource of well-being into the foreground. Resting back and nourishing this sense of well-being, of ease and comfort. Maybe there's even a glimmer of contentment or gratitude or love or joy. Maybe for no reason at all. Just noticing what's emerging, sensing and feeling. All of you is welcome here. Whatever is arising. Maybe you notice this part of you, the part of you that might be capturing your experience with this I thought, my emotions, my thoughts, my joy. And this curiosity, what does that part of you feel like? Letting go of all effort and noticing, what does being feel like? What does being awareness feel like? Awareness aware of itself. As awareness, feeling the movement of thoughts and images, memories, colors, shapes. As awareness, feeling the movement of emotions, the movement of the breath, the movement of sensation, the movement of well-being. And what would it feel like to feel it all at once, without exception? As we transition to the end of our formal practice, we might take a moment to get curious. After this experience, what do I now know is true? And perhaps there's an intention that you would like to bring forward from this practice. As we turn towards the end of our practice, we might take a moment of gratitude, a moment to thank ourselves for turning inward and practicing. Noticing when and how you'd like to transition into the rest of the day. And taking all the time you need. Thank you.